Well, to open the precinct of Parliament to the public, that's something that I think we consciously wanted to do, and it proved to be very successful. Changing, the internal rules of Parliament to make it more efficient, like no more midnight sittings or early morning sittings, those sort of things, and tweaking question time. There are other things which we wanted to introduce. Prime Minister's question time, for instance. We introduced a version of it. Opposition time, we managed to really get into it, to amend the standing orders. We were just beginning to do it. So, committee system is, of course, a big chunk of the reform that we did. As you know, we managed to establish 10 special select committees, which were scheduled to be converted into standing committees. We were at the stage of drafting the rules. We had a consultant working on it already, so that it becomes a permanent feature of Parliament, because this is very important. So, this a mixture of things that we started out to do, and I must not forget that one important element in the reform process is the publication of what is known as the Malaysian version of the Erskine May, a thick book on parliamentary practice. The main thrust of the parliamentary reform we have begun. I cannot say we have completed, because the reform of Parliament is a process, and the Speaker is merely one part of the process. What the Speaker does has to be supported, not only just supported, but buttressed by other players. This was one of the things I wanted to do. When I was interviewed by a number of agencies and NGOs and such like on what are the main things that should be done, I mentioned parliamentary culture, political culture, as one of the huge issues that we'll need to tackle. In fact, I qualified all the reform efforts by saying much of it depends on being able to inculcate good political culture, good parliamentary culture. Tried to do it. You can't fault me or any of my officers for not attempting it. We tried to do it. We were seeing signs of progress. But now, of course, over the last 2 weeks, it's still a short time in the scheme of things. Scheme of things. Someone mentioned that. So, but looking at it, it has fallen back to the old habits, I think. But I would like also to say that I have full respect for the majority of the MPs on both sides. Most of them are very level-headed. I know this, being a speaker, and when I ask them to sit down, they will sit down. Retract, they will retract. Although they can be very loud. But there are some who are like that, but they retract. They know they are in the wrong. And you ask them to leave the Dewan, they will leave the Dewan. Unlike some who will refuse, or who would refuse, I must speak in the past tense, to leave the Dewan, sit where they sat, refuse to move, and when the Bantara comes to ask them to leave the hall, they refuse. So they comprise a tiny minority